From We Are Spectacular, this is the Spectacular Marketing Podcast, a podcast about everything brand, marketing, digital and social for the food and drink industry and beyond. I'm actually doing the intros and outros for this great podcast with James Mobbs of Ego Restaurants after a couple of beers, so hopefully I don't trip up on my words too much. James very kindly came down all the way from up north to a couple of meetings, I think, but also squeezed us in to have a chat about his journey in terms of starting out in marketing and going all the way through now to being head of marketing at Ego Restaurants and everything that brings. Some really great advice about getting out there in the field and actually working from restaurants, which is really helpful in terms of really seeing what's going on with the customers, really listening to the staff and understanding minute by minute what you could do to make it a better experience for your customers and for your employees and your teams. We had a really hot day. I think it was about 30 degrees outside. So the little small studio got a little bit hot and nasty. So we definitely needed that couple of beers, which James, being slightly tight from up north, actually did buy. So thank you for that. I hope you really enjoy what James has to say. He's an ex-colleague, a really good friend, and also a little bit of inspiration in terms of screwing it, just doing it, and moving to the other side of the world to have a life-enhancing experience and really experience everything that the other side of the world has to offer that then you can bring back to your life once you come back to the UK and use that within your career and your job. So it gives me enormous and gigantic pleasure today to introduce an old friend, actually, and an old colleague and an old contact and someone that I've just seen, grow and grow since, you were quite a wee boy, but since you were a wee boy when I worked with you way back 6 or 7 years ago. Welcome, Mr. James COLDREY-MOBBS.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's all right. And what should we call you?
What should you call me? I mean, I guess legally, I'm actually now James Mobbs. COLDREY's now a middle name. Yeah. Well, getting married, I guess my wife now has got two middle names, which are Eleanor Victoria, and she didn't want to be Catherine Eleanor Victoria COLDREY-MOBBS, understandably.
Oh, that's a reverse. Yeah. Most people are angling for the double barrel thing.
Yeah, no, I guess I've been a double barreled all my life, but yeah, I'm now Justin Mobbs. But yeah, James.
I think that's good because it sounds quite tough.
Yeah.
Sounds quite sinister if it's gangster.
Oh yeah, that's me. It's funny that COLDREY-MOBBS, I guess, does definitely have its benefits. I was at a lunch the other day and someone saw my name and was like, I know your dad. Because he used to be in hospitality as well. So I guess it does have that benefit. Like there's not many COLDREY-MOBBSes out there at all. So
you've joined the mob.
So yeah, James, or everyone at work calls me JCM, but now it's J, no more CM.
It's getting complex.
Yeah, it's complex.
And job-wise, head of marketing
guy, the bloke that does the marketing stuff.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's ego, innit? Everyone does do a bit of everything. Whilst we all have our specialities and our job roles and job titles, we're all pretty hands to the deck. To the point where we even have our COO. Quite often we'll be stood behind the bar serving people, or group exec chef in the kitchen washing pots, So we do get around quite a lot, and we're definitely not stuck in silos, as this is where your all starts and stops. So
that's
which
a
I
good
like.
thing.
I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be stuck in a silo. So.
Definitely. So we'll come on to Ego Restaurants in a sec. So. If we wind it back then, as I say, I for me, certainly, instantly from meeting you, I think it was exactly about 6 or 7 years ago. I think it was 6 and a bit. Yeah. And you just knew it, right? Meeting you and your energy and confidence and knowledge and stuff like that, you just thought, he's one to watch. And in a good way, not like watching my wallet.
Watch fall off the
cliff. watch my money. No, I just thought, right, all bets on him. He's going to go for, and you've got a long way to go as well, which is annoying because you're young and all that stuff. But yeah, so what happened? How did you start out? And all this on this trajectory?
Yeah, well, I think probably like most people in our industry, I started working in bars and restaurants. I was a pot washer at the age of 13. Worked kind of probably 7 or 8 years. A complete mixture of roles, from being a chef to being front of house to working in dirty nightclubs to giving flyers out at 3 a.m. in the morning to working up on a farm where we served local produce, where I could probably tell you the name of the pig of the sausages that you're buying or eating for breakfast. Working kind of fancy restaurants, flipping burgers at Greasy Spoon cafes and kind of everything in between. So I guess I've done my it was probably about 7 years or so. Went off to university, did business management, and always tailored it wherever I could to hospitality. First, I guess, proper job in inverted commas. After uni, I ended up being a management consultant, which I guess being a 20-year-old with a job title as management consultant sounds a bit strange, but for a company called CoverPoint, who were bought actually a couple of years ago by JLL.
Yes, that's what I've heard the name,
Yeah. So they provided, I guess, food service consultancy all over the world, quite often to property developers or to places where food service wasn't the primary driver. So visitor attractions, museums. It could be like staff offices. So you've got staff restaurants. A lot of work with shopping centres. Where they've now gone on this journey, and you look at the likes of Leeds Trinity, one of the projects we worked on. It's like how different food service is in shopping centres as to what it used to be, and it is fundamentally people now go to shopping centres to eat and drink and be entertained, as opposed to go shopping and they'll grab a sandwich or they'll grab a burger. So I was there for probably the best part of 2 years. Ended up going for a drink with Anne Elliott. One thing led to another, and ended up kind of moving over to work with her at Elliott's for about 2 years as well, maybe 2.5 years. And look, loved it there, absolutely loved it. And I think probably it was, you were saying about confidence and ability. I think, it was Anne, I guess, that brought a lot of that out in me. I think it was there somewhere, it was there within me. And I knew I had it, but like, Anne's fantastic, she's great. And I guess she really loves working with people, and I guess taking people on as like a mentor or whatever. And I guess building them up. So look, worked on some amazing projects while at Elliott's. Obviously, briefly with yourself, not that long with yourself, but working on projects. When you look at the client list from the likes of Wagamama and Carluccio's and Coat and Harvester and Miller and Carter and Sodexo and Pret and IHG Group and this kind of massive long list of all these companies. And as you said, I was probably 23, 24 at the time, and I always remember presenting a report back, a pretty chunky report as well, back to the kind of the CEO and the exec team at Wagamama, just kind of like, bloody hell, like this is quite surreal. Like quite young.
Was that David at the time?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah. So,
but just it's worth talking about Anne for a sec as well, in terms of what Anne set up there. And continues to do is just champion young people in the industry and bring them through. And and if you look at if it's the School of Elliot or the Year of whatever, if you go back, there's your good self, Ollie. Now at Wagamama. You've got, who else was that?
Oliver's obviously still there.
Yeah, and then James, obviously part of it as well, James Hakon.
Yeah.
And oh god, the name just dropped out. Went to Bella Italia and all that.
Joe
Lynch. Joe Lynch.
Yeah.
So Joe was wonderful, great fun, always super cool hairstyles.
Yeah.
So, and if you look at all that, you're just like, and that, actually, Anne has been providing, almost like a feeder system as well.
The future,
great
I guess,
people.
of our industry.
Which so I think there's a big shout out
to
all the investment in people.
Oh yeah.
She's
I definitely
doing.
owe a lot to her. As a thank you, Anne, if you're listening.
I think tons of us do. I think tons of us do, and I'm the same. Hugely grateful that I played a part there too. So
from Elliott's, I guess it was why did I leave Elliott's?
Did you?
I'd been to New Zealand a couple of times before when I was younger. My granddad was a Kiwi, and I'd been with girlfriend at the time, now wife. And I think when we were there, we were like, we should come.
The name chopper, I think, is the name stealer.
The name stealer, the name stealer, yeah. We'd kind of, when we were there, I was like, we should come back here. Like, we should come and live here for a couple of years.
Is your wife from New Zealand?
No, she's from London.
Right,
No. But we'd been together. We'd travelled there during university for a couple of months just in a camper van, which was quite a fun test. I think we'd been together about 4 or 5 months at the time, and then you spend 2 months in solitary confinement in a camper van in the middle of winter in New Zealand.
Test.
Yeah, but we survived, and it made us stronger. But yeah, I think it was probably me driving that, and was like, look, if we don't go and do this, I think I'll always look back later in my life and think, why didn't I do that? You know, I've no mortgage, no kids, no dependencies. Yes, you know, I've got a good job that I love at Elliott's. But yeah, I guess part of the confidence in me thought, well, I'll be able to find another job, whether that's here, whether that's there, whether that's somewhere. So, you know, if I don't make this decision, I think I'll always regret it. So we were in the pub one night with my wife where the best decisions were always made. I said, so are we gonna go to New Zealand? She's like, yeah, one day. I said, no, like, yes or no, are we going? She's like, yes. It's like, cool, when are we going? So we put a date on it, and, you know, 4 or 5 months later, whatever it was, you know, had the hard conversation telling Anne. I think she probably understood, was probably a bit sad. But yeah, we packed up, bought a one-way ticket to New Zealand, got on a flight and landed there, which was amazing. It was probably one of the best experiences of my life.
How long?
2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Ended up, you know, probably a little bit of luck, a little bit of falling on our feet, but also a decent amount of hard work before we went to try and network and find the people that we wanted to speak to when we got there. You know, an amazing culture. You could just email people and say, hey, fancy going for a coffee? And they'd be like, yeah, sure, I love coffee. Why not? Which is pretty, I guess, a different culture to sometimes over here, where it'd be like,
no
in
chance.
3.5 months' time, I might slot you in. So
yeah.
I ended up, again, I guess how these things work in our industry, going for lunch and a beer and some food with a couple of guys who were based in Wellington, capital of New Zealand. And they said, hey, look, this is where we're at. We've got 5 or 6 sites at the moment. We want to grow. We want to stay in Wellington. We're pretty passionate about growing Wellington and the hospitality scene and supporting local communities and employing local people and everything. And look, we want to grow. We know a bit about you from what you've said and your experience. So I've got no idea what your job description is, what your job role is, or anything at all. But hey, come and work with us, and, you know, let's try and do some cool things. So yeah, I mean, when we were there, we went from probably 6 sites, I think, up to 18.
What was it?
It's called Wellington Hospitality Group.
Right.
Started off it was Williams Pub Company, but then changed to Wellington Hospitality Group. Went through a bit of a rebrand process there. All venues were completely individually branded. So, you know, we had a Bavarian beer hall on the waterfront. We had a slightly more upmarket sharing restaurant in a private yacht club overlooking the harbour. We had a smoked meat, kind of cool 1960s live music bar in the CBD. We had, you know, suburban community bars. We opened an events company as well while we were there. Ended up getting the contract to run all the catering at the Basin Reserve, which is probably one of the most iconic cricket venues in the world, and quite famous for cricket lovers. So doing the catering for England versus New Zealand Test match for 5 days, all the hospitality, opening all the bars, you know, which was quite nice. Ended up getting to go for a few drinks and play around the golf with Joe Root and Ian Bell and the likes of that. And so yeah, it was probably I think my job description was literally 2 bullet points. Was, you know, do what's needed to help us grow, and bullet point 2 was kind of anything else that's reasonable for an employer to ask you to do, pretty much. So it covered literally everything. I think officially my title was commercial manager. So it ranged from everything from kind of concept development to local marketing to social media to...
They've got social media?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I'm joking.
It's weird. New Zealand's kind of like, in some respects, it's kind of way ahead of the times.
Yeah.
As a test bed for technology.
Just in terms of hours.
Yeah. But no, and then working on kind of commercial deals, we ended up being official hospitality partners of the professional cricket team, rugby team, netball team, football team, all out of Wellington. So that was amazing, and I think for anyone younger listening who's thinking I should do it, just my advice would be go and do it, because you'll regret not doing it. And the worst that happens is 6 months later you come home with maybe your tail between your leg a little bit, and you've not lost anything. So. And
what, just on that point though, and you know, I think there's almost a podcast in itself about New Zealand, and I'm only having a go because I've got my good friend Mark Weir's.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, what are the differences then? I mean, in terms of food trends, culture, expectation, how the eating out market? What's all this sort of?
They're very. They dislike brands. You don't get much branded operation there at all. I think in Wellington there's 2 Starbucks, maybe even 1 Starbucks, which, considering there's 500,000 people, 600,000 people living there. There's a Nando's, which I don't think I ever saw anyone ever really go there. It was they love independent. They're mad. I have, to my sins probably, I've come back a beer and a coffee snob. I'm sure you know this from Mark probably. So look, I guess the difference they have from say the UK and say London, especially, is they just don't have that breadth and width of cuisine types, and you can't really go and spend £60 a head. Like, you'd have to literally order everything off the menu. Whereas places in London now you can spend £50 a head on 2 courses and a glass of wine. That just doesn't exist because there's not the population density or the income, I guess, to support that. So yeah, they're fiercely kind of independent. But they like good quality, they like good quality products. They've got some of the best produce in the world, from seafood to wine, to all the stuff they kind of grow on the land, and all the cattle and everything. It's pretty famous, I guess, for its sheep, and everyone thinks of sheep when they think of New Zealand. So
I know what you mean.
You don't, yeah.
No, just thinking about that, and I know Australia's wildly different and all that stuff. However, one of the things I learned when I was out there with lastminute.com was the fiercely independent thing. So, as small things like on my last day that I was there, for 3 weeks, try to help them. I mean, they were doing really well, and I think it was just a bit of a jolly. So I went out and I bought Dunkin' Donuts. It just opened, so I thought, I'll bring it. No one was bothered. Yeah. Well, A, from a health factor. Yeah. B, they were just like, what is that? What's this? No one's going to go there. Yeah. I just was like so shocked. And then the last point was, because I thought everyone had been quite quiet in the office, right? And then once I started speaking to them and saying, "Do you want a donut?" They were like, "Are you Scottish?" It's like, "Yeah." "Oh, we thought you were English." So that's hardly anyone talked to me. I was just like, "Oh man." But yeah,
are you all right then?
I mean, I was fine. But I think the fiercely independent thing, and so just talking about the snobbery thing then. So have you? So what's top of your list at the moment then? Coffee and beer
we got a one of our, probably like pretty much our only kind of big wedding present was Katie's parents got us a barista coffee machine. So we've got a barista coffee machine at home. So every morning.
So you're your own snob?
Yeah, I am my own snob now. Yeah.
Is that what are you shipping in coffee then?
Yeah, I use Rave. I just do online.
I know Rave.
Yeah, they're really good, and I think probably on my marketing, I learn a lot from e-commerce. I looked at e-commerce as an industry for, I guess, where to learn and where to grow, I guess, my skill set, because I think e-commerce is way, way, way ahead of hospitality in terms of what they do and how they use information and data. And I always happen to get a Rave email at the right time when I just need coffee. Yeah. They seem to kind of get it just right, and I always get it, and pretty much every email I probably convert from about 85% of their emails. So so I've been working up Milton Keynes, which is where we met, the Milton Keynes City of Dreams, which I've got a T-shirt that actually says that. I dispute that statement.
I love it. So my friend's got an agency in Milton Keynes, and actually, funnily enough, a couple of Kiwis and a couple of Aussies were working in the agency, and it was a North Milton Keynes, right? So it was Wolverton. And I said, what brought you here? And they're like, the boss told us this was the Shoreditch of Milton Keynes. Which I was like, I don't think that's true. Anyway, so Rave Coffee, there's an amazing coffee shop in Milton Keynes called Bogota Coffee. Okay. And that's the coffee they use at Rave. And I only found that out the other day. I was like, someone was raving about that coffee. And so beer, what about beer?
I kind of moved, I guess, before getting to New Zealand, I was probably more of a cask ale drinker. I'm now probably more of a hoppy.
Such an old man.
Yeah, I know, old at a young age. I'm now probably more of like your American style hoppy. But actually, like, more and more now, and maybe this is because I have got a young daughter now, and maybe it's a sign of old man. Like, I actually like the lower percentage. There's some amazing beers coming out now that are kind of 3.5% to 4%, which smack you in the face with flavour. and you can have 4, 5, 6 of them, and you kind of you wake
Still
up.
drive?
Yeah. No, that's Aussie or New Zealand. No, you wake up the next day and you feel good. Whereas sometimes there's a lot of beers coming out now that are, you're looking at like 5.5%, 6.5%, 7%, and you have 2, and you kind of got a headache and you kind of feel hungover before you've even had 2 beers.
Got to bed. Yeah, and congratulations on the little one.
Yeah,
as well.
thank you. Yeah,
super awesome news.
Yeah, it is.
So, so and you've done a bit of both then, right? So, so you've left New Zealand. Why did you come back? I don't mean I didn't miss you.
No, everyone asks. Look, I guess, so my brother had a little boy and had another little boy in the way, and I guess I was an uncle on the other side of the world on a screen, on a phone, on a Skype call every now and then, which I guess just didn't really sit right with me. I'm quite a family man at heart, and I didn't really like him growing up and me not knowing him. And plus, Katie and I were getting married. We booked our wedding venue blindly from New Zealand. We saw it on a website and thought, hey, that looks pretty cool, and let's book it and put down a deposit. So we had to come back to go and look at the wedding venue, and then we were getting married, and I guess we probably hit that point in our life. It's like, look, we've done this now, and it was amazing, but what's next? And we left it on a high, and I think that's an important thing. I'd try and leave everything on a high. And you look back on it with fond memories, but it took probably 6 to 8 months to get used to that decision. Funnily enough, I was thinking about it today on the way down on the train. We landed in Heathrow. My dad came and picked us up from the airport and drove back up to Sheffield, and I think it probably took us, and this was the middle of June, so the summer. And it was grey, rainy, cloudy. It took us about 6 hours to get home. There was end-to-end traffic the whole way, and not getting into a political debate, whichever way you look at it, it was the day we voted to leave Brexit.
Right.
So it's like, oh, welcome back to the UK. And I was just like, oh, what have we done?
So it's your fault.
Yeah, but but look now, it took a while to kind of get over that. But when we moved to New Zealand, it took a while to get used to that as well. So things always take 6 months or so to get used to. But now we're back here, and I'm loving life, loving my role at Ego. Again, ended up meeting James Haller for a drink and some lunch, and I guess.
So is that what happened? So almost like when you came back, you were on the scout.
Yeah, I ended up briefly working for a company in Sheffield called Airship, who CRM, do a lot of email and text CRM marketing, again for hospitality. So a lot for Coat restaurants, walkabout bars, some gift card stuff for Living Ventures. So I ended up working there for a couple of months, and it just didn't work out. I think probably the role wasn't quite what I was expecting, and maybe I wasn't quite what they were expecting. So it wasn't working, and ended up meeting through, I guess, Hannah Haller, James's wife, who works at Cartwheel. Got my CV through Anne, and then ended up meeting with James, and again going for lunch, and from there he was like, look, we don't have anyone really looking after marketing at the moment. We're opening new sites, we're growing, and I think it's it's going to be something that we're going to need. So we worked on that job description, and it's 3 bullet points. There's a few more this time. It was a few more. But that's it's probably a year and a half ago now, January last year. So nice. And it's flown by. Yeah,
no, it's a good one. I think it's a good one, and it seems like a really good team up there. And I don't know James personally at all, but whenever I've seen him on stage, or hear people speaking about him, or seen him in performance and stuff, like obviously he's a smart cookie, right? He knows what he's doing, so that's exciting to work with someone like that.
He's also, I remember, whether he remembers this or not, but the thing I really actually appreciated and really liked is when I went for the interview with him. He was in one of our restaurants, and we were kind of just starting to chat, and a customer came in, and the person that would normally greet them wasn't there, so the customer kind of waited for about 2 seconds, and he just stood up and was like, went to the customers, got the menu, sat them down, was like, someone will be with you soon. And it's just like that. It's like customer first, and that's, I guess, where the focus of our organisation is. And I think it kind of needs to be, and I really appreciate that. Just because he's the CEO of the company, he's standing up, taking the customers to the table, giving them the wine menu, and then kind of handing them onto their server or the kind of duty manager. So.
I think there's a real split in terms of business ownership, isn't there? From people who are outside the industry that maybe have the capital, but I think it's really pleasing to see someone that is a hospitality professional. Is always just attuned to that what's going on over there? What?
Yeah,
you know, that's always...
You can just pick up on those little cues. Something's not quite right.
Yeah.
Or, you know, she's carrying a lot of bags. She might need help. Or like he doesn't look happy with that. Or he's looking over his shoulder. And it's those cues that, you know, I guess from a marketer, whatever I do as marketing, it's picking up on those cues is probably more important.
Yeah. So. Definitely. So, you got the job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're doing that. So then, what about this dual hybrid life that you've seen? So you've seen it both sides, and similar to me. So, what have you found? What's the differences between agency life and client side life?
I think if I'm honest, I prefer being in-house. I prefer being, I guess, at the coalface. Ultimately, I live or die by the success of a project. In-house, you get great scope. You get projects. I guess again at Elliott's, every single project was different, and some of them was so kind of left wing and different. And you had to really think. It's like how do we do this? Like we know we can do it, but like how do we go about it? What's the process we go through? And they were great. And I actually really enjoy writing proposals. There's something about me, I guess, the methodology that you go through, like I quite enjoy it. So
I've got a couple needing doing tonight.
Yeah.
I'll give you a shout.
So look, you get that from agency side. Obviously, you get to work on different clients, different projects, different briefs. But I think the thing that I find hardest, and look, I'm sure everyone struggles with it who works in agency, is that project itself or your day is so much dictated by the client. Whether they get up on the wrong side of bed, they're stressed, they're under pressure, they don't actually understand what they're doing or what they're trying to achieve, or they've been given this as a project that they don't believe in, but they've been told they've got to do it. We've got to get 1 million people on the database or whatever. And it's like, well, why? What are you trying to achieve? What's the end goal? And I think you can work on some projects that on paper sound a bit boring, a bit dull, but the client's amazing, and you get on and they're fun and they're engaged and they give you time and focus and they give you a good, clear brief and you actually really enjoy it. And you get some on paper that sound like they're going to be amazing and they're just an uphill struggle. And sometimes that's completely out of your control. I always think the best things, and I guess some of the few agencies that we work with, I guess I want them to do is challenge me and question, and I don't want a yes agency, and I don't just say yes because that's kind of what I've asked for. It's like, come back, say if you don't think it's right, challenge the way it's being done.
But at least if you mean that, right? Because so much of the time you do get it where they're like, oh, by all means challenge me, and you're like, you don't want me to say a thing. Do you want me to say yes or do you want my opinion? And and hopefully, as you say, you're not getting taken on to be an order taker. Hopefully you're taking, I won't name names, but we've taken on a client the other week, right? God knows how it'll go in the future, but it couldn't have went better.
Okay.
Just in terms of the immediate trust, the immediate just like, look, I'm in a hallmark. You tell me what I should do. And do it just, for an agency, I feel anyway, there's nothing that can be better. Budgets aside, all that stuff, someone that just values your opinion.
Yeah.
Like they're taking you on and they'll run with what you're saying. And you just think, thank God, thank the Lord someone wants to do that, because so many don't, and it can get tough when it's that parent-child thing as well,
Yeah. I think probably, so I guess two things for me that I guess I've taken out of being an agency is the importance of a brief, and you'll love me hearing that. But typically, like if I'm briefing something into someone, I'll send like a 6 or 7 page PDF. Like, this is the background of the company. This is where we're currently at. This is what we do well. This is what not's performing well in it. This is what the results are. These are the figures. These are what I want to achieve, and this is what success looks like. And it's like, there you go. So like that clarity, I think, makes a massive difference. And you used to get briefs that you're kind of not really sure what they wanted, and you're kind of then trying to bodge together a proposal, and then you're doing work and you're pretty confident that it's going to be what they wanted, but until you actually deliver it, so yeah, that kind of brief, like
I think that's a real downfall of mine as well, definitely. And I don't know if I'll change, but I probably don't ask enough questions because I think anyway, a lot of people kind of come to us and me and whatever, and they're just like, he'll sort it out. He'll fix it.
He'll get it.
And a lot of that is, a lot of that is your job to do that. And also, I've never wanted to give a client any hassle. Mm-hmm. So, I'm surprised because we sometimes work with other agencies and stuff, and I'm shocked at the amount of times they phone the client and ask them stuff. And but I think it's different. You've got to judge the character because I think you'd be okay with that, right?
Absolutely. I guess some of the clients we work with, they'll know. Like I'll ask a lot of questions. Like a question I want to know. I'm kind of, whether it's just the way my mind works. Like I want to break things down into as many little bite-sized chunks that follow a process as I can, so that. Like I fully understand everything along the way, so that I guess singing from the same hymn sheet and working in harmony, and what you deliver is what kind of we're looking for, and the results are what we want.
And but I think it can just go the other way though. That if you start asking questions, especially back to your point, do they really know
what they want,
what they want, or what they're doing? Yeah. And then all of a sudden that exposes emotion, and And then it's just like, you just get it done, Will. You kind of, not that I've ever had that response really, but I think if you push someone enough, that's the response you would get. Yeah. So you're always kind of judging it sometimes, that you're like, I'll replay that back to you, but you probably won't read it, and I'm just kind of in that hole anyway. But But I think also, thanks for doing good briefs for all agencies everywhere. I can speak for all of us.
I think the other thing, I guess, is understanding that empathy of what it's like on the other side. And if you're a stressful guy and you put your agency under pressure and you don't brief them in well, and you kind of come down on a ton of bricks and you're not very nice to work with, it's like, ultimately, is the work you get going to be the best it possibly could be? No. I'm sure you'd probably, we do the best work for everyone, but if it's,
no, we don't.
If they're an arsehole, then you're struggling with it. Whereas if they understand and they have empathy, and they're like, we've had one of our clients before, and it was to do with some stuff in the back end of our Google Analytics. It was to do with measuring conversions, and it got to kind of a Friday night, and he's like, we'll work on it at the weekends. And I was just like, ultimately, like, it's not, that in itself is not affecting like the ability for people to book, for the ability to people to kind of come to our restaurant and enjoy themselves and come back. And that's what it's all about. So look, later down the line, there might well be a time where, like, I need to say, guys, can you work on this late? But this isn't it. So like, there's no kind of real need for it, and I'd rather like have that relationship and be like, like, in a way, like, I don't want you guys like slugging away working on it a weekend, because it doesn't affect, like, if you get it done this weekend, it doesn't make any difference. So, but I know from working in agency, plenty of people don't have that attitude, and it's always needing to be done, first thing. Yeah,
and actually, there's sometimes a little bit of a getting off on the fact that your agency's working over the weekend. And I've always usually got this, we used to talk about it with the wee one, the witching hour.
I know what that's like at the moment.
But I got it 5 till 7 on a Friday. Still can I get it?
Oh yeah.
And basically is every client you've ever met, like, not every client you've ever met, but a lot of clients, it's exaggerating as I always do. But getting it off there, getting the other side of the tennis net, and then so you're just sitting between 5 and 7 on Friday going, oh man, you've just got all these monkeys on your back. You're like, oh man, I just wish you'd told me that on Thursday night. But it's happening kind of less and less. But it's one of these things. But I think it is just human respect for each other. And just, especially
in the industry we work in, like we work in probably the most empathetic industry there is out there. So it's like, how can I go there and, not I, but, like, put pressure on our staff members for not showing empathy and understanding to customers if I'm not showing that? And it's kind of a Danny Mayer type, one of his books. It's like, how can you're employing people that show empathy. If you want them to show empathy, you need to show them empathy yourself. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, Mr. One-Man Marketing Department, what the what? How do you do all this? So, how many sites?
15, opening 16 soon, and we'll move straight on to 17 after that.
All one brand?
Yes, but quite different. At the moment, it's pretty much 50-50 split. There's older sites are what you'd call more high street restaurants. Like they're very much a restaurant. You go in there for food and you might have a drink or not with it. Whereas the new model, so now 50% of the sites is the Ego restaurant concept in a pub. So it's Ego at the Fox, Ego at the Bull's Head, Ego at the...
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I guess we looked at our demographic, our proposition, and then, the way high streets are going at the moment, and competition and rates, and there's no parking, and you're fighting with people going out drinking, and not fist fighting, I mean, barging through and what have you, but and actually like our proposition and our demographic, and I guess you look at the trend is people are eating and drinking a bit more closer to home, and now we've got sites with big car parks and big venues, and you can bring the whole family, and they're great for special occasions and big group dining and group parties and what have you. So yeah, whilst they're all one brand, it's kind of the pubs are very different to the restaurants. And
the food in the main is the same?
the food in the main is the same. The offers the main and the same. There's some slight variations. We've got 3 different lunch menus depending on where your location is.
And it's your staff within the pub?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We take the kind of the lease, and so it's we go in, we do a full refurb, and employ all the it's all our staff, all our food,
brilliant,
all our processes, all our systems, and everything. So,
God, that's a smart move, especially the way it's all heading. CO2 aside.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, it's funny. On the radio this morning, I was hearing about the CO2 shortage.
Yep.
And they talked about Wetherspoons in the Radio X. I'm just stuck in the 90s somewhere, so I was at Radio X. Yeah. And then they said, in the news thing, they said about Punch Taverns. Okay. And you just had Chris Moyles going, what? Who's Punch Taverns? What? And then they obviously did the research, and then he was like, yeah, there's, what was it, 1,500?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
And they were like, I've never heard of it. So it was quite funny. And then he was talking about Beavertown as well, but he never made the link about, Logan and Led Zeppelin and all that stuff, so I wish you had. That would have been quite cool to hear. So how are you managing all this then? What are you focusing on? What's the structure with the agency? How are you doing all this?
So it's funny, I guess it's one-man marketing team. There's we have a great colleague called Natalie who does probably about half a week, who responds to all our reviews. So I'm definitely glad that's something that gets done. It can be a pretty thankless task. So I guess that's one of the elements that I don't do. She does all of that. But yeah, other than that, it's myself, and actually we don't work with that many agencies either. We don't have a social agency. We have a web agency who sometimes do a bit of creative, and looking at maybe doing a bit more creative with them. But typically they have been web build and then web troubleshooting. The CRM is all on self-service as well. So there's basically kind of myself. There's a print company, and I do lean probably a decent amount on our booking provider, on our CRM platform, and ask questions, and I'm pretty curious to how things work, and so I do probably push them quite a bit. But I think for myself, it's having a focus on actually what is really important. You talk about KPIs, and it's like, which ones of them actually are that important? And other than the satisfaction side of things, it's more people spending more often, and that's kind of what I focus on. And every other metric kind of helps maybe support some of those, but if it doesn't do one of those 3 things, then I kind of have to park it and maybe come back to it. And I guess I can't get too caught up if something's not perfect, if the creative's not 100% perfect. And this probably goes back to some of your points you've alluded to in other podcasts, where you've said, you might spend all this money on this amazing creative, but then you've got no money to market it and no money to tell anyone about it. And again, maybe it's my mind. It's actually sometimes simple creative that's not, all that. It doesn't have to be ridiculously crazy and animated and what have you. It's a clear message. It's got clear text and a clear call to action, and it's just to the point, to the right people. So yeah, look, I've probably focus a lot of stuff on web. Web and email would probably be the 2. Social probably, if I'm being really honest, socials are a little bit of a back burner for myself.
It's
because I
interesting.
don't have time to.
It's interesting. I think social. Took a brief this afternoon about social for someone that they're really, back to your questions about the questions and stuff. It's like they really want sales, and it's like social ain't going to do that short term, you know. And this is, we just did a big strategy piece for something outside the industry yesterday. Me and this kind of social brain guy that I know, and it's just like they actually were buying it, where it was like, guys, this is about fame rather than getting you to the top of the funnel. And it's a marketing mix for a reason. That then you'll go down the funnel. Yep. So there are some great restaurants doing a great job on it right now. I mean, I'm super impressed with Meat Liquor at the moment. Yep. They're doing such a good job, and they've taken on Rosie, who lives down in Brighton, and she's very active on social, and they've went all in on it. Yeah. Whereas they'll do not loads of other things. Yep. So, but I think it depends what you need in your area and in your customer base, and if that's working, then you've got to cut something. Yep. So
I think social for us, social is probably just more there as like a trust thing, like I'll look on the social page maybe before I go and, hey, look, the food, it looks like they've got nice food and nice service and nice staff and environment, and cool, I trust them, I've seen it. It's kind of that, I think there's probably a bit more of that, whether that is our demographic, our customer base.
But at least you know what you're doing it for, and I think so many people don't. They're like, oh God, I've got to post 5 times on Instagram daily, and and it's like, no, you don't. And it's just, and I think also in your world, social is almost a defense strategy in terms of just making sure people are being answered to on Twitter was probably enough. Yeah. With then some maybe eye candy going on with some nice food and venues. Yeah. So that's probably
I think the probably thing that I'd try and push is respond. To people. If we're not we don't have to be posting all the time and really that often. But look, let's respond to people. Let's have a little bit of a conversation. Let's respond to reviews. I think, I think probably too often, and this isn't necessarily an ego thing. This is kind of across the industry. I think a complaint comes in and everyone jumps on ship and everyone's like, oh my God, we've got to get this customer back and we've got to fix it and we've got to welcome them back in, and because we need to turn this customer around. But for every one bad review, there's 20 good reviews, and like the fundamentals of marketing, like it's way easier to get to not get a new customer than just get a returning customer. Yeah. And the person that had a good time is more likely to come back if you appreciate that than the person that had a bad time who was a bit of an arsehole and you don't really want him to come back anyway. Like low-hanging fruit.
I think putting your foot on the gas and appreciating praise is definitely a good thing. And then in terms of like your week then, how are you working weekends and stuff? Are you managing to get it into the 5 days, or? Yeah,
we're pretty good actually. I do manage to get it into 5 days. I normally we have a head office. Office? I said that weirdly.
I thought that was some kind of cool brand thing.
Yeah. We don't have a head office. We have an office. Based up in Bolton, but it's an accounts team. It's the registered, obviously, office for the business. But my week's pretty much spent Monday and Friday. I'll typically work from home. I guess getting ready for the week and catching up from the week, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like I'm in our restaurants. And part of that is, I guess, 2 things: is catching up with our managers. We employ people as managers who are great at dealing with customers and show great hospitality skills and manage their teams, but put them behind a computer and ask them to respond to emails. They don't do it. And I think if you continue bombarding them with emails, and they probably say I do, you're never going to win. So we get out to our restaurants. Everyone in the business gets out to our restaurants every week. We're in them. I walk through the door. I see what the customer sees. I taste the food. I read the menus. I look at the banners outside. I log on to the Wi-Fi. Like all of these things in all of our restaurants every week. Like we do that. I think it's taken me probably the best part of a year to get used to that and understand the value in that. I think I probably felt for the first year, I was like, I'm spending 6 hours tomorrow driving up to Blackburn and then over to Lytham, and back, and I'm like, what I could do is 6 hours. But then the time I got to spend in the site, if I hadn't done that, I would never have known. Like, you pick up on so many more things. Like, I would never have known, what was going on, or I'd never have really had that FaceTime with the general manager. So it was probably it reminded me. It was a couple of months ago. We work with Wireless Social, Julian and Michael and all the guys up there. And it was probably more recently than 6 months, because I think it was a GDPR thing. There'd been some change to the customer journey to when people logged on to our free Wi-Fi, as to what the message was on the screen that they got. And I picked it up on, sent a screen grab to, it was Michael up at Wireless Social, and he was like, I didn't even know that I'd gone live. Like, you've just picked that up. We knew it was coming, but we didn't quite know. It's like, you've picked up on that immediately. It's like, yeah, we are in our restaurants, like, every day, all the time. Like, so the customer's seeing that, and it kind of, I want to understand what it is and why. Can we change it? Is it right? And because they're kind of at the heart of our business.
Well, I think that that's as it should be, and sort of back at a couple of businesses that I've been in as well. We managed by walking about, and that was the big deal. Going in, speaking to people, seeing what's going on. And I think Yo Sushi was such a good example, because what they did was they made you, I don't mean made you physically or anything, but they wanted you to work in the kitchens and things like that. And the amount of things, bits of knowledge, little, and it's maybe just the way that I'm wired or whatever, but just those little facts about the freshness, or how this was delivered, or the content you can have, or that's all the gold. But so many, I guess it's company culture rather than the marketer themselves, but they'll just sit at that desk and go to the head office and almost see the sites as a hassle. Oh God, here they come with another local marketing idea. Yeah.
And I think probably having worked in the industry for 6 or 7 years, and being front of house, back of house, I guess understanding that, like, whilst it was a while ago, I guess I'd know what it's like to get slammed in a kitchen and to be up against it, and the pressure's on, and it's hot and steaming, and the customers are outside, and what have you. Like, I know that pressure, so I've got to understand that. And I guess in a way, like in a weird-ish kind of way, the GMs of our sites and the managers and the head chefs are kind of my customers. Yeah. Like, as the marketing manager, I've got to make their life easier, to give the best service we can, to give the best food, the best quality, the best service. And then, so do you pick the restaurants at random that you go and see, or is it priority order of sales or lack of, or whatever? It's probably a mixture of a number of things. Sometimes we'll go to a site, and if they're performing really well and everything's going hunky dory, it might just be I kind of pop in and say hey and have a coffee and catch up, and is there anything I can help you with, and do you need any more printing, or what's coming up locally that we can kind of tag on to do a bit differently. Or I guess more with the pub sites is, like, how can we integrate more into the community and kind of spread that local love and knowledge. But yeah, more often than not, it probably is based on sales, like where needs a bit more of a push, where needs a bit more of a focus. Or it could be because we're rolling something out, we're changing the way we take deposits, or we're changing the way we communicate pre-orders to customers, or we're changing the way we take bookings, or whatever it might be. And it's like, I can put together a PowerPoint and send it on to you for you to look through and work, but I'll just come and show you. Because you'll have 101 questions that you're not going to email back to me, but if I take you through it on a screen in your restaurant with almost like making as if I'm a live customer, it's like you'll understand it. You'll ask questions that I'd never have thought of, which means I need to update the training that I put together to help you kind of work with this system better. So, and we probably have, we've implemented in the last year and a half, we've gone through a decent chunk of change in systems we use and processes we put in place, and so all of that there's a training need behind that.
And then what about local marketing then? Have you got a plan for that? Is that, apart from web and email, do you spend some time on that? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's site by site thing. So that's where my Monday is probably normally more spent doing brand stuff. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday out in the sites to make myself a massive list of to do, and then Friday it normally ends up being those local stuff, putting some of that into place. So yeah, like if every site has a a bit of a local marketing calendar, we tend to work in kind of 3 to 4 month cycles. But yeah, we'll try and look at doing an event a month, whether it's we'll do a themed night, or we'll do a gin and jazz night, or we'll do a charity night, or we'll do a steak and beer night, or whatever it is. And all of those things are kind of done locally, because the customer base is different at each site. So,
and are there north and south differences then that you're seeing?
Yes and no. I think if I had a pound for every time, a general manager said, yeah, but the customers in our restaurant are different, you'd probably be a rich man. And then if you doubled down on that and did, double or nothing, for my response will be, everyone says that, and they then reply with, yeah, but at our site it really is, like, they really are different.
Different how?
Because they because they say everyone at our site loves discounts and wants a value, and ultimately, like, customers are going out to have a good time. They want good service, good value, good food, good quality. Whether that's at the at the lower price point or the higher price point, it's expectations. I don't think customers are that different. We're not in London. We're not really further south than just south of Birmingham, and that's the plan. We don't plan to come much further down south, because my head would tell me, and I've not lived in London for probably 5 years now. There's not really north-south. There's London, not London, or London and a few surrounding places.
Yeah.
And then not London.
Yeah.
And most other places are kind of the same. They just sound different, and they use different words for different things.
I mean, London's bulletproof to a lot of senses, in the fact that people are eating out 1, 2, 3 times a day. And we noticed that we were up, we went out on a wee night out with Live in Ventures a wee while ago, and boy did we notice it when we went out with them. We just had some dinner with Jeremy and Paul and that, and people were out like, and it was like a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I thought, flipping dressed up to the nines, and this and that, and we were pretty scabby, in our kind of work clothes sort of idea, and it's as smart as I get. And and I just was sitting there just going, my God, and actually on the same night, just as an aside, there was a cosmetic surgery private do going on.
Oh, yeah.
So that was interesting. So we were a bit like, it's only women in here. What's going on? And we finally worked out. We're like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, we went to Albert Sloss and all these other places, and we were just like, we couldn't believe like how much people were out. Big,
out.
spending big.
Yeah.
But in terms of the north, then north of the wall, for you guys, I feel bad for you. We were sort of touching on it earlier on before we came in, and it is London, not London, and and I think there's so much going on down here. And to be honest, I'm feeling it. I live down in Brighton, and for work, which absolutely grateful for, but it is London as well. Everything's in London. So, yeah, do you guys feel a little bit parochialised or distant or out on a limb?
Yeah, this is, I guess, I was saying to you, probably one thing I'd ping up. Probably more on a personal note is, and it was off the back of listening to the podcast with Pooja a couple of days ago, where she said, every month she'd go for breakfast or lunch with, guys, whether it was Drake and Morgan or ETM Group, and when she was at Soho House, and I guess a different bunch of operators, and whether it happens up north and maybe I just don't get the invite and I'm sulking, or if
I really hope that's not true.
I know, yeah. But it's like, there's a lot of hospitality groups now based out of London, whether it's in Birmingham, Leeds, Manchester, Nottingham, Derby, Newcastle, Liverpool. Not many in Sheffield, but there's a few in Sheffield. Look, and I'm keen, and this is, I guess, a bit of a shout out. Look, if people are listening to and kind of fancy just going for breakfast or going for lunch, like, whether you guys travel or not, like I travel all over. I probably do 1,500 miles a month or so, traveling between our sites. So let's kind of meet up and let's share some knowledge, share some insight, have some fun, and I guess network together. And there probably is a bit of me, and this is the northerner inside of me, and I don't sound that northern, but I am a proud Yorkshireman at heart. Is all the conferences, all the events, all the networking kind of opportunities, every email you get, come to this event, come to that event. It's all based in London, and I think there's probably share the love. And I said to you, it's like Wembley. For so long, FA have kind of made England play it at Wembley, and it's always been about playing there. And they played at Leeds not that long ago, which is good. It's like share that love.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few bits. I think for England, by the way, they should have built it in Milton Keynes. That was the middle of England. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it would be a really good idea for everyone to get together, and I think there's people who would want it. You've got amazing people like James and Matt at Gusto. You've got Living Ventures, as part of that as well. You've got the Reds dudes. You've got ton of Alchemist stuff. You've got Mitchell's and Butler even in Birmingham.
Inspirations.
Yeah, you've got so much.
Yeah, there's loads. And there's more and more, I guess, of almost probably more and more groups that are similar to where we're at. They're at that kind of 15, 20, 25, that kind of size. And some of them are maybe a little bit bigger, some of them maybe a little bit smaller. But I'm sure we're probably all one man, one woman marketing departments, and have the same challenges. And So yeah.
Well, I think it's a good shout, because I think you've got that 7-17-70 thing, and if you're all around that 17, then there's probably a lot to be learned off of everyone.
Yeah.
So what about just going back into restaurant then? What about loyalty and things like that? How do you approach that?
Again, I think when I think about this, and this was probably it's almost going back to a project and a brief at Elliott's, when I was really thinking about loyalty, and what drives loyalty is the service element, is good customer service, good quality, good range, good value. That's what's going to make me go back to the same coffee shop, the same bar, the same pub, the same curry house. Like, we all have them that we go back to. We have a bad experience, we go back again. We know it was a one-off. So as a business, we put a lot of focus, as I said, on that operational side of things, even from a marketing side. Like, I'm in the restaurants, I eat in our restaurants 3 times a week, if not more. So I see all of that, I see what they're seeing, and I think, there's so much that you pick up there that inspires loyalty and drives loyalty. But outside of that, I guess, from a more kind of digital side of how I drive loyalty, it would be our kind of Ego Club, which is our email membership. So you sign up online, or you sign up in the venue through the Wi-Fi or through making a booking, and we give you 25% off the a la carte menu, Sunday to Friday, and you get a free 3-course meal on your birthday and a free bottle of Prosecco on your anniversary. And you choose when that anniversary is, and quite often we'll have people write to us or email us, and they've chosen like the same anniversary date as birthday date, and I'm like, hey, you should change it. Like, change it to 6 months' time and just come in and get a free bottle of Prosecco. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, because you can't use with another voucher, or the normal T's and C's on every voucher that goes out cannot be used in conjunction with. So we do a lot of that, and we have a phrase. We never say no, and I guess we do live by that. So, customers in the restaurant, and if they've got a birthday voucher, look, the managers have got the the ability to kind of bend the rules, and they do what's needed to keep the customer happy, because that makes them come back. And it's a pretty generous birthday offer. But I think if you look at it if you looked at that one transaction, you are discounting quite a lot. But maybe they came in with a party of 7 other people, so it's not buy one get one free for your 3-course meal. It's buy 7 get 1 free. And then they'll come back again, and if you look at how often they come back, it's like, well, hey, this guy comes 4 or 5 times a year, and they spend 50 quid. So, and that's if they're a table of 2. So over the course of the year, they've spent, they maybe spend 300, 400, 500, 600 quid, and we've given away a 3-course meal. It's
so. I know we're in close proximity, and we're both got our shorts on, but just stuff like that makes me want to kiss people, just because like. Too much. It's like, what's the ROI in that? How are we going? And it's all just the deal is just so much on the side of the operator. Yep. And I feel, and I'm looking at your legs right now, I think it's just show a bit of leg, right?
Yeah.
And you'll get it back.
Yep.
Just give that kindness and never say no. And so today's a great example. I was out, so over at Diamond Merchants actually, which was kind of fun. It was a bit like Snatch, you know, like the old thing, Mike Reid and all that. But no, it's not like that at all. It's quite premium. But I was with the VaynerMedia guys, so Gary Vaynerchuk's dudes. And so after it, me and Eric caught up. He's the MD. I think he's going to come on this soon. And anyway, I've not seen him for a while. Good to get for a chat. And he's, you know, sort of dashing and American and all these things. So we went along, and Fortnum's was across the road. Mm-hmm. So he's going, do you want to go for a coffee? I was like, well, we go to Pret and eat, and, you know, and that's fine, and we do, you know. But I says, do you want to go to Fortnum's? And he's like, what's Fortnum's? I was like, oh man, come on, we'll go in. And I wasn't really sure, I couldn't really remember where the tea bit was and whatnot. Anyway, we just walked up the back, and it was lunchtime, and it was the lunch bit, and all these things. And I walked up, and I was like, I don't know if we're going to just get drinks here. And what do you think they did?
Just came and got you and grabbed you and found you a space?
They just said, come in, doesn't matter that you're here for drinks, sit down. And they sat us on a table of 4. They could have sat us on a table of 2.
Yep.
All these things, right? And it just, they wanted us to be comfortable. Yep. We bought 2 flat whites and a bottle of sparkling water.
Nice, you were a cheap date.
A cheap date. Well, he was going out for that. He was going to Chutney Mary's after. But you know that way, how many high street fast casual operators would have done that?
Yeah.
Lunchtime.
Yeah. But you'll go back. And
I'll
that's what you're saying.
go
How
back.
do you inspire loyalty? It's the people on the front line ultimately.
Yeah.
You know, inspire loyalty. I can do everything I can to, you know, look to acquire, you know, your acquisition of customers through social, through your website, through, and look at the conversion metrics and blah 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 blah. But the minute they walk through that door, that's where they're going to get loyalty or not. Just
do the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the interesting thing, you know, with you know, just the model there as well. You had someone for everything. Someone took your order. Someone else brought you something. Someone then with a suit came with the coffee. Then this and that. You know, but it made you feel great though. Yeah. And you know, it wasn't even that much money. You know, it wasn't that much more than you would have spent in a regular coffee shop. You know. Yeah. But anyway, I'll definitely be going back for that. Right. So a couple of last things then. So future stuff. So what's going to be your focus then for the next year and a bit? And well, A, what's your focus? But B, marketing wise, what do you think's happening? Trendiness. Where do you think you should be putting your effort?
Not on trendiness.
Well, yeah.
on simplicity. Like I think it was actually I think it was yourself that posted on LinkedIn. Might have only been yesterday, but it's like putting the customer at the front.
That was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I just saw someone put it up, and I just was like, "Of course."
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, and that's it, and that should never change. Yeah. It will never change. Like so. You know, it's that, and whilst we can, implement more tools and understanding of what the customers do and who they are and what they like and what emails they opened and all of these things, and you know, ultimately, like we've got to continue to be in our restaurants and kind of live and breathe through the customer's eyes. You know, it makes me laugh. Like we actually, like semi-regularly, when I'm in a restaurant, a customer will ask a member of staff, and it's like, hey, you know, I signed up to the Ego Club, but I've not had an email recently, or, you know, I've not had my birthday voucher. And they're like, oh, well, I'll just go and get James. So, like, imagine that the customer literally gets the marketing chap that does some marketing stuff come over and actually sit with them and be like, well, hey, let me, I'll look into you right now, like, for you. I'll solve this for you right now. Like, it doesn't happen, you know, in most cases. So, but on top of that, like, I'm a big advocate of email, and I know there's a lot of people, you know, there's for every article out there that says, you know, email's great, there's also articles out there that say, you know, email is dead, and again, it's probably a bit more of our customer demographic and our location base, but like, it's something that I and we control. I control when the email is sent, I control what the content of that is. I'm not at liberty to the algorithms of Facebook and social and Instagram, and they really choose who I see, and they tell me this person saw it, but I don't actually know. Do I believe the stats they give me on views and figures and what have you?
Don't be so paranoid.
I think, like, I take I mentioned earlier, I can't remember where we were recording or not, I take a lot of inspiration from the e-commerce industry, I think they're so far ahead in everything really as to where we are in hospitality, and that's the industry I look at. I sign up to so many databases, just e-commerce sites, to see what they do, and based on what I do, what email do I get, and how can email me dead when these companies, e-commerce has got to be like the highest growing kind of industry as a group out there, and and those companies are built off email databases. So look, I'd probably, if I had X pounds to spend and I had to invest it in one thing, I'd continue just to invest it in that and get that smarter and better and more automated and more understanding.
But I think the big thing is the variable is you, right? So email is not dead, far from it, if you've done the right thing and if your communications are worth reading. If you get a daily email, as you do, from some pizza places and Italian places saying 40% off, and you get it every day, you're like, it's like me trying to ask my wife out, buy, please, and she eventually gave in, but it's just like, but you're only going to get that one thing, and it's going to be a distressed purchase, and you've set the expectation. Whereas if you, and what you're saying is you've got an engaged audience, you're only saying something when it's worth saying. And, I would have thought you're not the type of marketer that's only calling on people when you're desperate.
No.
So, CEO of your company going, right, sales are down, James. We need to, if that's all you do as your email marketing strategy, whereas you need to tell people news, you need to tell them, stories, you need to.
So there's a book and a guy, it's called The Invisible Selling Machine, a guy called Ryan Deiss, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce his surname. Runs a company called digitalmarketer.com, which is a pretty big online community of digital marketers.
Good to get that URL.
Yeah, digitalmarketer. I'm pretty sure it is digitalmarketer.com.
Amazing.
But yeah, so they've got a book. It's called The Invisible Selling Machine, and a lot of it is all about email marketing, and a lot of it is more for either e-commerce or if you're you sell diet plans or consultancy, or you're a nutritionist or whatever. So it's more around those as opposed to I guess kind of high street operations. But they talk about indoctrination, and I guess you sign up to my email club, there's a reason you've done that. You obviously have some interest. That interest might be because you're actually genuine interest, or it might be because you get a discount for doing it. But like your open rates of welcome emails, you're never going to get better open rates. You're never going to get more engagement. So it's like, this is your time to indoctrinate these people into everything about your brand, and like take them on this journey and tell them everything you do and share the love. And, you could set up, maybe 10 emails that just go out kind of once a week, just drip feed things through about, whether it's a special offer or it's a certain menu or it's certain nights or certain specials or our company culture or everything. It's like that. You can do that indoctrination in email much more than you can do in any other form.
Yeah. And also I think it's how people handled their data before GDPR. And basically with GDPR, people have just absolutely blown themselves up by writing to everyone saying, please re-sign back up. What did they think was going to happen?
Ludicrous.
So I think you've done it in the right way. And look, if email works for you, do it. And don't, and you're not the type of person it would be, but just for anyone listening, don't feel you have to do what everyone else is doing. Whatever's working for you. And actually, the other thing I'd say is, don't be too data obsessed. Just people go to the nth degree. Yeah. I think as long as you've got a rough, unless you are a multi-million-dollar e-commerce company or pharmaceutical multi-billion, you could probably have teams that do that all day. But when you've got little results, you got the gist of what's happening.
Yeah, and that's
the score.
Like your focus. I've got probably 6 or 7 metrics that I track quite religiously. And I watch what those doing and if they're going up or down. And, I look at figures elsewhere and understand what they're doing. But ultimately, if those 6 or 7 figures are happening and are right, then
that's you.
Hunky-dory.
Right.
Hopefully.
So, before we both die of heat exhaustion, I think it's like 30 outside today.
Quite warm.
We've done all right, though. I think we've done okay.
It was nice and cool when I got in here, and now I'm pretty sweaty.
You can't have the aircon on and record, So, final thing. Just for your peers, and you're getting old now, So yeah,
Oh, thank you.
Older than I last saw you. So you've got there's a new school of people coming through. There's the wonderful 30 under 30 stuff that's going on with James and other James and all these things. So what advice would you give? Just in terms of a bit of a pearl of wisdom or something that's got you through, or a tip. That might help them in their journey and get to that next level that you're at.
One thing, and again, it probably comes down to character types a bit, but be curious. Just constantly be curious. Like I could have. It's funny because I have a chat, every day with Adrian, who's our COO. We just chat every day on the phone. Just brings up. Sometimes it's about something specific, and sometimes it's just hey, how's it going? And I might have had a day where I've had 5 hours sitting at my computer, working something out and trying to look at it and be like, well, could we do this or could we not do this? Or how would I do this? Or how would I improve that? And I might get to the end of that time and be like, no, actually, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't really fit. It's not going to make a difference. And he'll then ring, but what have you been up to today? And I'm like, I kind of just got lost a bit in my head on some kind of weird trail of thought. But my mind is now much clearer. I now know, and I learned things along that way, and kind of I know where I need to focus now. So be curious. Always kind of look to learn and look to develop and kind of ask questions. I guess I do ask questions. And the second thing would just be, just make sure whatever you're doing, you got pride in it. I think and I think that's probably come from me. Wherever I've worked at, even down to when I was a pot washer, have pride in what you're doing. If you're not proud to, deliver the piece of work, or you're not proud, you're not putting your heart into it, it's not going to be very good. And I think the two character traits that don't really take much, and if you have them, then you'll continue to kind of grow because you'll learn more, and then you'll deliver excellent work, and ultimately that's when we were at Elliott's, it was always we just want to deliver excellent work. Ultimately, that's what we want to do, and I've taken that into what I do now. Is I want to just I want it to, what I do and what I deliver. I want it to be as best as it possibly can be. It's not perfect, but it's as good as I know it's as good as I can do it now. Yeah.
And I think it is that, it was a book years ago I saw which was called Life is Good, and it was just lots of wee quotes. So kind of hippie sort of book, I picked up at an airport. I was having a particularly bad day, and it just said, and I think I actually posted it the other day on LinkedIn. It just said, "Whatever you are, be a good one."
Yeah,
and I think that's just a good rule in life, which is just just do that. Try your best, and even if you're not where exactly you want to be, and you're maybe pot washing, no disrespect to pot washing, but you might have a bigger dream, and if you do, then just give that your all you can.
Yeah,
and then just
be a good
take
one.
It from there.
The difference, you were asking earlier about differences between, I guess, New Zealand and they're pretty blunt, they're pretty to the point, and don't worry. the company kind of policy around, when you start, it's can I do this, can I do this, can I do that, and where can I push the boundaries, and then pretty much their answer to everything was just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Just don't, which is the Kiwi way of putting it. Just be a gun. It's just don't be a dick. It's pretty simple. If you're not a dick, then.
But it's spelled differently there, isn't it? It's like deck. Say it or whatever, So brilliant. Okay, on that slight sweary word.
Yep.
On that bombshell. We'll get out of this furnace and go and get some beer. Hopefully stuff that will satisfy your inner snob. Listen, James, thanks so much for being on, man. It's been excellent to catch up and just hear your progress and hear your journey, and also thankful for a lot of the tips that you gave as well through the presentation.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The presentation, the podcast, and I think people will get a lot out of this. So because you're actually in it, on it, doing it.
Yeah, that's what I said. Look, I do, honestly, genuinely mean that if you do listen to this and add me on LinkedIn, ask a question, let's go and have a coffee and meet up, and what's the worst that can happen is you go and have a coffee, hopefully a good coffee, but.
Yeah, well, we'll do our best. Yeah. All right, man. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers. A huge thank you to James Mobbs for coming in on this hot, sweaty and sticky day to sit in the studio and talk to us about his career, his thoughts in the industry, and also some tips and tricks about how you can get the best out of your career if you're an up-and-coming marketer. Thanks to James as well for the couple of beers that he bought me. It was much appreciated on this hot day. It went down incredibly well, but I had to get back to record these intros and outros. Thank you again to everyone who's listening to the Spectacular Marketing Podcast. Again, even if you're going on your holidays or anything like that, do download a few. I've had a few people saying they're listening on planes. Maybe they're trying to get to sleep. But again, a really good thing to hopefully impart some knowledge and some value to everyone while you're maybe sort of doing some other things. So good to multitask with that. Thanks to everyone that's rated and reviewed, and also anyone that spread the word to introduce a new listener to the Spectacular Marketing Podcast. We really, really appreciate it. Huge thank you to Gabby, Gaz and Mihal, the exec production team, for everything that they do and all their hard work in terms of putting this together. I'm Mark McCulloch, and this was Spectacular.